Hello and welcome to Whatever Happened to the Gentleman, the podcast that brings you real, no BS, dating, relationship and sex advice, and a few other things thrown in between. I am your host, SMr&x, and I have been an empowered dating coach for over 10 years now, and I'm still loving every single second of it. Today's episode, I have got a special guest on, Bay Carolina. Bay is a sound therapy and soul liberation coach. And honestly, that isn't actually why she came on the podcast. Her story about how she went into a blindsided divorce is really inspiring and empowering, and I thought her story was something that might be able to help all of you guys out, because sometimes when things go wrong in our lives, we tend to believe that we are the only people that this is happening to. And the whole point of me doing this podcast, of doing what I do as a coach, is to change people's outlooks and outcomes on how their life is going to turn out. So, without further ado, let me introduce Bay. Hi, Bay. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Bay. I am a sound therapy practitioner and podcast host in Canada. I have been through a lot of relationships and a lot of, I guess you could call it failure, but I really think they were great life lessons and I've learned a lot and I'm so happy to be here and talk about it all.
Yeah, because when you filled in the form, I was like, oh, she's professional and she's got life experience. And I really kind of resonated with your story. And I think a lot of my listeners will do that, because from what I read, it was you were on a path that you thought you was on, and then things change very quickly.
Yes. You want me to talk about that?
If you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I so I guess it started, I got married in February 2020. So right before the world shut down.
Yeah.
And that year, everyone was saying how 2020 was horrible for them. But I thought it was great because I got to step into this new identity as a wife, and it was one of those life things that you check off. Like, I'm married now. My little brother had already been married. I felt like I was behind in life, and now I was married. And because the world shut down, my husband and I got to spend so much time together. And I thought that was great because we weren't arguing, we weren't fighting. Everything was just smooth. And then, yeah. And so during the pandemic, I realized a whole bunch of things, that my life was not what I wanted it to be. So it's almost like marriage sparked this whole like shift for me. I ended up quitting my full-time job and my husband supported me fully in finding my passion. And then I discovered human design, and then I started deconditioning and like shedding all these layers of who I thought I was versus who I actually am. And then my husband and I moved 3,000 kilometers away from our friends and family because it was cheaper to buy a house.
Okay.
And yeah. And then I had a spiritual awakening. I had found, like, one of my best friends died suddenly. He had cancer and he didn't even know. And that sparked a lot of physical pain. That sent me to a craniosacral therapist who was so intuitive. And she recommended chanting. And I was like, I should probably say that I've known since I was 3 years old that I wanted to do something in music. I wanted to be a rock star as a 3 year old, and I would perform for people and sing for people. And that never ended up happening. But I had this moment where my craniosacral therapist suggested I look into chanting. And then I found vocal toning the chakras. And during a vocal toning, which actually ended up being on Lionsgate Portal, which is August 8th, which is a big cosmic alignment date. And I got this out of body experience. My body multiplied into like six beings, and we were holding hands in this circle, and a phoenix rose in the middle. And I just got this message to just go towards sound therapy. And from that moment, and I've been changing so much. And then my husband and I started fighting.
Okay.
And things were not great. And multiple times I had to say, if we can't communicate properly, we're not going to be able to stay married. And so my whole life, I guess I was going through this whole growth period from when we got married until last year when he blindsided me asking for a divorce. And yeah, it's still, I guess it's still a little hard to talk about that blind side, but like whenever I would talk to anyone about my husband, I always said how great he was and how supportive he was. Because for about 3 years in there, I was trying to find my passion. And it was that spiritual awakening moment that set me off on the sound therapy, and which is what I'm doing now. But for about 3 years, I was just floating around, and I always said how supportive he was and how great he was, and how he was so different from anyone else I ever dated because he was just so supportive. And he was like, don't worry about money, just find your passion. I know you're going to do great things. And then he just, out of nowhere, packed up his stuff, left me in the middle of the night. And I should clarify, he left, but he came back in the morning to tell me he was leaving.
Okay.
And so I woke up and I had no idea because he had planned it all behind my back. And he had got everything ready, and he had like moved his stuff out in the middle of the night and said he was not coming back. And there was no chance. We didn't get a chance to work on it. We didn't get a chance to go to therapy. I didn't even know. All I was saying was like, let's communicate better. I wasn't saying like, I was just saying it's a foundation for a good relationship to have good communication. I wasn't saying I actually wanted to split up. But now since he's been gone and I've continued on my growth, I can see I felt like I was a bird in a cage with him because he was controlling everything. Even though I was finding my passion, he was controlling everything about our situation, being the only financial, I guess,
Provider.
breadwinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, provider. And now I feel so incredibly free. And I was faced with my worst fear, which was being alone. And I was not only alone, I was alone 3,000 kilometers away from all my friends and family. So I was literally alone. And he just left. And my dog was there. So I was not literally alone. But through all this, I had to face my biggest life fear. And I feel incredible now. And I'm 10 months past the separation date, and I feel incredible, even though I had no choice but to face my biggest life fears and to do all these hard things. And I feel so great now, despite all that.
Oh, well done.
Thank you.
I know as adults, we don't tell each other well done enough because you went through something that was very difficult and you are here to tell the tale about it. But I think that sometimes, and I know this with myself and my own experience, that when people get together, they're in a way, and it happens a lot when people are a lot younger and they have been together, which was my experience. And then you start to grow as a person and change. We all, as humans, we all change. We're always evolving and getting better the majority of the time.
Yeah.
And if the other person isn't growing at the same time, it can create a lot of issues. And it
Yeah.
sounds like that's exactly what you were doing,
Yeah.
that you were discovering yourself and discovering a lot about yourself. And he probably didn't like the new version.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because of course he's blaming me for everything. I'm the problem, which is hilarious because I know that whenever we have problems, it's usually just a reflection of ourselves. That's how the universe likes to echo to us. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's
sometimes
absolutely true.
people, it's very hard to admit I am wrong.
Yeah.
That all humans struggle to do that. And even like children, that's why children lie, because it's very hard to be like, actually, yeah, I did do that, and actually it was hurtful, or it was bad, I shouldn't have done it. So people put blame on other people because
Yeah.
they can't accept their own faults. And it took me a long time, and my ex-husband, we are actually on good terms now. But we spent a lot of years where it was my fault, his fault, my fault, his fault. And I would say a lot of things were his fault, and they were. But I still had to, like, now I will take some responsibility for certainly letting certain things happen and letting it go on for so long, because I did make that choice. I made a choice to stay for longer than what I should have. And he will accept some fault now, a minimal amount. If he ever listens to this, I'm sure he'll accept no fault and be overly happy about it. But yeah, it is hard as humans to accept fault. And this for you is very new.
Yes.
It's a new experience. So, did you stay in the house?
I did for about a month while I packed up my stuff and then I moved back in with my mom.
Yeah.
It was really hard being in the house because we had only bought it together and lived there together. It wasn't one of our places first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I moved back in with my parents too.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
It's weird.
embarrassing. Yeah. Or I felt it at the time, and I was like, oh, and people were like, well, we knew it wasn't going to work out. So
Oh, wow.
no one told you that beforehand,
Yeah.
just after.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They're being supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since then, obviously, you've moved back. So you're back from
Yep.
being far away from everyone.
Yep.
So that's has that helped?
Nope. I actually feel incredibly alone here too because I've grown so much that I don't feel as in tune with I always call it like my old life, like who I was versus who I am because I've stepped into this. I believe I've lived my whole life as this identity of who I thought I should be, checking off all those life goals that society tells you have to do or that you should do and that you should want. And now I'm living for myself according to my human design and it feels so liberating and so free and it's not who I've been before and I'm telling people how I feel and I'm committing to things and then canceling plans because it doesn't feel aligned anymore and I'm making and I feel so whole in myself that I used to go from relationship to relationship because I was so afraid of being alone and now I almost feel that I'm more afraid of someone else changing this wholeness that I found in myself. And so I want to feel good in my wholeness before I welcome someone else into the fold. So it's so different. Yeah, I do feel quite alone here because even the activities that sometimes my friends are surprising me. I shouldn't assume that they don't want to do these new things. Like I've started going to this Russian steam spa and it's so new for me and I'm so obsessed with it, but it's such great self-care and people are actually wanting to come. And so it's almost like I've leveled up and they're like, "Oh, it's giving them permission to level up too."
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like it's weird because like they don't really know what I'm going through because I don't have any friends who are divorced, but yet, I don't know. It's this weird, like, I feel lonely, but I feel so good in myself.
I
Yeah.
get that. And I what I've been watching Cobra Kai with
Oh,
my
yeah.
son, right? And he's upset. He wants to do karate now, and it's fine. But there was a quote in there about a cobra and what it does to make itself better, and it sheds its skin. And I sat there watching this prayer, and I'm thinking, obviously, my son and my husband did not get the epiphany that I had. But I was just like, oh my God, that is so like life. When you start growing and you start moving forward, you have to start shedding certain parts of who you were before. I do not have the same friends that I had at all when I was in my first marriage. They have naturally fell away, though there have been like arguments and things, but they've naturally fallen away because when I started to rebuild myself or even find out who I actually was, they didn't fit with that. And I still have a lot of love for all of those people, but we just naturally grew apart. And what then happened was other people walked into my life. And so, like you saying about you're worried about someone changing who you are, and it won't happen.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that for like from my own story, that like my now husband literally walked up to me and put his hand out and said, "Hi, I'm Alan Morris." Um,
Wow.
but I was ready to be who I actually am, and I've never had to change any part of myself in our whole relationship. He's just accepted who I am. And even I went to Phoenix and I was like, right, I'm gonna go here by myself, and he's just like, oh, okay. And I had an out of body experience there, and I told him about it, and he was like, I don't really understand this, but I'm gonna roll with it. And it does happen. It's just sometimes you have to go through the shedding
Yeah.
for that to happen. So
Yeah.
if you were like to meet new people, could you find something that's local to you that is interested in the same sort of things that you're interested in, and you could just go and find some new people?
Yeah. I'm working on that. There's not as many communities in this town that really align. And so I think this is my calling to step up and start one.
Yeah,
And those people will come.
yeah.
And yeah. But it's so scary shedding, and then it's almost like you're exposed as you shed away the old skin, and then you're exposed as this new version of you, and you want to do it, but you still have these old thoughts of, oh no, I can't do that. But then you're like, but I can. Yes, I can. Yeah.
But it's very strange when you meet new people as the new version of yourself, how easy it is to be yourself. So my best friend, I met her at an exercise class, and I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
this was probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I was like, I'm gonna go to this exercise class, and she was there, and she will tell you that her first thoughts of me was that I was ignorant, because I'm slightly deaf in my left ear. And she was
Oh.
saying something to me, and I was just completely blanking her because I couldn't hear her. And and it was really weird that, so yeah, it must have been 4 years ago, because I had probably met her at this exercise class about 5 times, and I just had this feeling inside that I needed to invite her to my wedding.
Oh.
It was so bizarre because obviously I didn't know her that well.
Yeah.
And she is, if people talk about soulmates, that she is absolutely that for me. But I can say whatever I think, and there's no filters, because she just accepts me for who I am. And I remember, like, my whole life I've been a person that, similar to you, I went from relationship to relationship, and I just wanted people to love me. So then I would do things to make them love me that didn't necessarily feel completely right for me,
Yes.
second guessing everything that I'm saying. Is this person still going to like me if I say this? Or if someone's upset me, I just wouldn't say anything because I want them to still be my friend, or I want them to still be my boyfriend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm in a mirror.
Yeah. And when you were talking, I was like, oh, it's me.
Yeah.
And but then when you start to meet new people and you don't actually have to do that. So like me and my best friend, we went skiing a couple of weeks ago and we shared a room all week, had a great time. And then I've not seen her for 2 weeks since then. And I went and met her yesterday. We went for a walk and she said to me, I thought you'd fell out with me. And I said, I thought you'd fell out with me.
Oh,
And it was just so, and we were both laughing, but because she's the type of person that I can just be myself, I can just say to her, you didn't put kisses on the message that you sent. So I thought that I'd upset you. And there was nothing that I'd actually like done to upset her. But it's so easy because then it's like, well, no, nothing happened. Everything's great.
yeah.
And you will find, and I think it's a good idea for you to create your own community of people. And if there isn't anything, like obviously you do a lot of the sound therapy and
Yeah.
the spiritual and human design, there's a lot of people interested in human design.
Yeah.
And if there isn't anything local to you, there will be other people that were wishing there was.
Yeah. 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 I gotta accept the calling.
Yeah, go find your people.
Yeah. Because even so, there was this store that's been in town for like 13 years and they just closed. And it was the closest thing I had to like these kinds of events that I would want to go to. And they're closed. And I'm like, now I really need to do this.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the universe sends you signs and we're supposed to listen to them. And
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes we don't so much.
Yeah.
So I, a couple of weeks ago, no, this was at the beginning of the year, I had applied to go back to what I used to do. So I used to work in prisons and I'd had it in my head for ages that I really missed helping people change. And I get to do that in this job, but in prisons, the majority of those people have never had a chance. If you go all the way back, they never had anything.
Yeah.
And so I'd applied, and then I got a lot of, because it's a government department, a lot of issues with the back and forth. And so
Yeah.
on the day that I was supposed to go in and give my ID, I sat on the floor and I meditated and I just said, show me, give me a sign whether I should go and do this. And all I heard back was a voice saying, I've been giving you signs and you're ignoring them. And so I emailed and I was like, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
And I think this is your sign, you know.
Yeah. That's the thing. We always ask for signs and we don't want to see what's there. But also, I believe that sometimes the signs come and we're not quite ready to see them. Like
Yeah.
we're asking for the change, and then the universe, and we think the change is going west, but the universe, like, no, you're going to go east. And so you're not really looking east, you're still looking west. So, like, it's a mix of like not wanting to see it because it's not what you think it should be, but then
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's like you got to open your eyes to any possibility and then you can see what's coming.
And I think that's the same when you go back to relationship, no one gets into a relationship thinking, oh yeah, I really want this relationship to end one day.
True.
I really want to get divorced. No one's thinking that,
Yeah.
because people that are thinking that normally don't then go and get married. in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's just sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to realize that
Yeah.
it's not the way.
Yeah.
So you do sound healing.
Yes.
And I know, like, obviously I said to you before we came on here that I haven't been to a full sound bath, but my
Yes.
gym does do a little class. We do a bit of Pilates, a bit of yoga, and then we do a sound meditation at the end for like 15 minutes. And I know I said to you, one of the times I saw myself in Japan with the kimono. And what I didn't tell you was I left that sound meditation and I came home to my husband and I said to him, we need to move to Japan. And he was like, maybe we should go view it first. That was
Yeah.
his response, not like, no, Sam. And I was like, no, I've seen it. I've seen it. I did the sound meditation. I've seen myself. I've got a kimono. And he was like, I still feel like if we're going to make that big of a move, that we need to go visit beforehand. And I just laughed it off. And this was before I realized that they had the Japanese garden of friendship in Phoenix. And then obviously when I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm not meant to move to Japan. I'm just supposed to go to this place in Phoenix. And that's what I did. And I did buy a red kimono
Ooh.
in which I wore just like what I'd seen. So tell me, if I was like going for a sound meditation for the first time, a full one, not one like at my gym, what
Yeah.
what would I expect and what would I get out of it?
Yes. So definitely go in with curiosity and an open mind because sometimes you might hear some sounds that may be triggering, but they're only going to come up if you're ready to release whatever's coming up. So it's all happening on purpose. And I can't speak for every single sound practitioner. I do my sessions very intentionally, and I have an open emotional center in my human design, which means I feel what you're feeling 10 times more than what you're feeling. And so I can really guide the sounds that way, even though I don't really know what I'm feeling. Like I had a woman who she'd survived a hurricane and I was playing my ocean drum and I felt so anxious, but I didn't know why I was feeling anxious. I didn't know until after that she was feeling anxious because the ocean drum reminded her of the hurricane sounds. But why I'm bringing this up is because something may trigger you in a sound session and like I'm saying, it's normal, it's a safe space, you can breathe through it. And you can also ask for some extra support after if you're still feeling triggered after. But usually you would, the sounds would like gradually go down and the therapist would bring you out. So you should be able to release what you're feeling, but always bringing a journal so you can write stuff down to work through, like to support that. And I always suggest that sound is supported by something like therapy. So if something does come up, then you can bring that up. But what you can expect is I call it lazy meditating because you go, you get all the benefits of meditation, but you don't have to think about your thoughts. You get to listen to the sounds, and most of the time you fall asleep. And what most people don't know is you listen with your whole body. You're not just listening with your ears. So when you're asleep, your body is absorbing those sounds, those vibrations, the healing vibrations, because what most people also don't know is all day you're receiving vibrations from cars to electronics to the electricity running in our walls. All of that is a vibration. And they're designed to work. They're not designed for health. And so going to a sound session is like receiving vitamins. And also it's like a reset to your body because your body is meant to be humming at its own frequency and not disrupted by life. But that's why like a regular sound session once a month, once a week, whatever feels best for you, can really help retune your body. Because also, fun fact, astronauts were, because the Earth vibrates, and astronauts were getting sick in outer space because they weren't feeling that natural vibration. And then they put a frequency emitter in the space shuttle and they stopped getting sick. And so, yeah, we have all these vibrations and we need these vibrations. And some throw us off and some realign us. And that's why, anyway, so you go and you bring blankets, you get really cozy. It's like I said, you can have a nap. You can totally just sleep through it, which is great. And you go and you just hear the sounds, and not all sound practitioners are created equal, and everything will be a different experience. And so if you do go to one and it wasn't really your thing, give a different practitioner a try, because someone like me with a lifetime of music experience and a classical training, like I'm a classically trained clarinet player. My band actually went to the UK to play. We toured around the whole country. Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah. So when I was in high school, yeah. So I come at it with a musical background, whereas someone else in my training was a massage therapist and her background was just how do I play these sounds? Whereas I'm like, how can I make a musical experience out of this? So it's just different. And so, yeah,
Well, that's the same with anything, really, isn't it? If you go to therapy, and I said this to my mum actually last week, she had a therapy session and she didn't like the person or she didn't like the vibe, and she was just like, therapy's not for me ever. And it doesn't matter. Like, you could go to therapy, you can get a coach, whatever it is, even if like a business coach. I have a business coach. You have James as well, don't you?
yeah,
Because he resonated with something within us. But
yeah,
there's lots of other people out there that do similar to what he does, but we
yeah,
just don't resonate with them
yeah,
in the same way. And so that would be the same with the sound baths and the sound therapies. You go, maybe the first time isn't for you. And I have this when I go to gym classes. There's some trainers that are just, I won't
yeah,
I won't participate in their class just because I don't like their vibe.
yeah,
And it's not even that I don't like them as a person or anything like that. It's just the way that they train
yeah,
is not right for me. But
yeah,
I like that.
yeah.
Brilliant. So if people want to find you, where can they find you? I will put it in the show notes as well.
Okay, yeah, I am on Instagram at sounds like Bay, Bey. And I'm not really in love with social media, so that's where I hang out. I just started a YouTube channel, so I have some sound meditations there if you want to test one. I keep them short because you can always like play it again. And or yeah, I also have a podcast, The Inner Sound Check, and I do sound in my podcast and I help you tune into yourself and release stuff using sound. But I'm really playing with the format because that's part of my human design. So I'm like, I'm flowing with life. But that's where you can find me.
Well, I did see that you will create, and correct me if I've got this wrong, bespoke sound for people.
Yes. Yes.
I was looking at that
Yes.
on the website. I was like, that is cool.
Yeah. So it would essentially you would fill out a form with me, tell me what you're going through. Maybe you're going through a breakup, maybe you're going through a divorce, maybe you're just moving, I don't know, whatever you're going through in life, changing jobs, whatever. And so you'd let me know, then we'd have a 15-minute chat so that I really understand. And then it would be really custom, be like, okay, Sam, get ready. We're gonna sit down, get really cozy. So it's really personal. It's not just a generic
Yeah,
sound. Yeah. So
I love that.
it's, yeah. That's what because I have always wanted things to be more specific to me, because a lot of, especially in the online space, a lot of stuff is how can I help a lot of people with my one product? And I really have always craved. That's what I love about like therapy and stuff. It's like one-on-one. It's helping my specific needs. So that's why I want to help people in that same way.
Yeah, no, I love that because I have a program that I call it the Healing Haven, that it goes along with my other program, but I created it because when I was doing my original program, I realized that some of the skills that I have as a practitioner that I naturally use on myself, the majority of humans don't have those skills. So, like being able to bring yourself out of a situation where your emotions are really high and being able to calm yourself down so that you can actually respond appropriately and take yourself away from situations. And within the Healing Haven, I do have like long form meditations for people where it's just noise, it's not me talking at them, where they can just sit for a long time
Yeah.
and go where they need to go in their mind. So that is so interesting to me that you can create like bespoke ones. Yeah, I'll speak to you about this after.
Okay. Yeah, because the other thing too is like if I'm in my space, I have all of my instruments available and I would just feel into, okay, what does this person need? What can help them in this particular situation? And just feeling in and yeah, I just love it.
That's cool. Brilliant. Okay, well, I am going to wrap up. Thank you so
Okay.
much for coming on. I know, like, obviously, people, if they watch this on the YouTube, they will see that my light has got darker and darker because it's getting to nighttime and the light switch is like over there. And I didn't want to be rude. So, yes, that will explain it. If you are watching on YouTube, this is what's happening in my office right now. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
How awesome was that? I really, really love having guests on. It just brings a whole different perspective to things, and I just really, really enjoy it and having someone to chat to. So, on that note, if you did want to come on the podcast, I'm always looking for more relatable guests. You can remain anonymous if that's what you choose to do, but my doors are always open. So send me an email. I'm at sam@thesammorris.com. After I ended the recording, I started to talk to Bay, we carry on a conversation about her personalized sound meditations that she creates and how that all works. And I know a few of you that listen to the podcast, you are in my program. So I spoke to Bay about adding a link into my program so that some of you may want to approach Bay and get your own personalized meditation that is bespoke for you to give you maximum outcomes. So yeah, if you're in my program, go check that out. It will be in the Healing Haven part. And yeah, I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, it's me, Sam again. I know a lot of my listeners really, really struggle with knowing why they keep repeating the same relationship patterns and going through the same things over and over again. And I have created a super simple system to work out why that is happening to you. And it is based on your personality. I put it all into a quiz that I'm very excited about. And some of my clients have already been doing it. I'm going to pop a link below for you to all have a go to finally find out what is stopping you from finding aligned love. Speak soon.